Hey guys, what's up? It's Scarlet and Great. We're back. Thank you so much for listening to another episode of the Scarlet and Great podcast. We have a really exciting show today. We know not a lot is going on in Buckeye Nation right now. We already handled the controversies last week. This week we have a special treat. We have a guest who's going to come on and help us break down how this offense is going to change under the quarterback leadership of Dwayne Haskins. We know that Burrow's gone. We know that Haskins is a completely different animal, completely different style of quarterback than JT Barrett, Braxton Miller. And so we're going to break down, hopefully he's going to show us and dumb it down for us guys who maybe are not as intelligent with the X's and O's about how this offense will change and what we can expect, how the running schemes and everything will be different. So we're going to get into that in a little bit, but of course, we have some business to deal with first. I'm here with my co-host, Corey Richard Simmons Thompson.
Oh, man. How did I go from Black Panther to Richard Simmons?
Well,
what did I do to you this past week?
Well, we're going straight into the weight update, and you lost 51 pounds. That's what you did, and then apparently you've had like a record week almost. So you were 239 at the last weigh-in, starting at 291. Corey, you said you're going to try to be a wide receiver by the time the season starts. So where are we at, Richard? Where are we at, Mr. Simmons?
You know what? No, I'm not Richard Simmons. I'm not a fruity little curly-haired guy. I'm sorry. I don't even know if I want to do this now. I mean, 232 now. I lost 7 pounds somehow last week. It's funny because I added some intense cardio to my workouts.
That's hence the Richard Simmons.
No, he doesn't do intense cardio. I don't know what he does, but he doesn't do what I do.
What does?
And God, now I hate my life. Thank you, Johnny. I'm going to gain all that weight back now. I don't even care anymore.
I'm driving you into a depression. I would rather be a fat loser than be Richard Simmons.
A skinnier loser.
Right. Actually, while I'm connected to the internet here, I'm just wondering what Richard Simmons weighs.
Why do we care about this?
Well, just so you have a.
It doesn't matter what he weighs. He's 4'11".
He's 5'6.5" according to this.
No, he's not. He is not 5'6".
Hey, he reached a peak weight of 260.
And JT
pounds.
Barrett's 6'3". Sure, okay.
Well, anyways, I just wanted to get you a goal. So let's say Richard Simmons.
I have to match Richard Simmons now.
Let's call him $145. So
yeah, I'll get there. Sure.
I see one interview he says he's 135. So there you go.
I'd have to be dead for like 6 months for me to get that weight. So
well,
it's like no,
whatever it takes. Failure is not an option.
Yeah, thanks, Johnny.
All right.
Good
well,
Lord, man,
we're excited. We have a special guest on here today. We are joined by a former high school football player from St. X in Ohio, a well-known, beloved program to those who follow Ohio State recruiting. And he is our friend, and he is a writer from Buckeyesnews.net, is Kiran Shanker. Kiran, how you doing today, my man?
Great. How you guys doing?
We're living the dream, making fun of Corey. Couldn't be better.
That's the dream. What a sad dream. My goodness.
Oh, well, some people dream to be Richard, some just make fun of Richard. But
I hate you so much.
Kiran, can you distract us a little bit from our weight loss goals here and talk a little bit about, so we know that this offense, first of all, am I being presumptuous to say, will this offense obviously change with Haskins at the quarterback position? Will it be different than something that we'd ever seen before here?
Well, yeah, absolutely. But in terms of the passing game, we're going to see a lot of what we saw last year. But we're also going to see some new wrinkles. We saw in the spring game, Kyle Jones from 11 Warriors did a fantastic breakdown on what was called the Saints play. It's a passing concept with high-low read in the front side of the play, and in the back side of the play, you have the tight end running a deep cross, and the final read's the Z receiver running a post route. And really, Ryan Day and Kevin Wilson with complete control of the passing game. Ryan Day adds a lot of that, Chip Kelly-esque element to this Ohio State passing offense. And you saw that last year with the Rams mesh and some of these other concepts that you see in passing playbooks all over the country, but what really separates our playbook in particular is what Ryan Day and Kevin Wilson are going to do to make Dwayne Haskins comfortable, and what they're going to do depending on the matchups, and not just from game to game, but from series to series, what they'll do formationally. And Dwayne Haskins is a guy who, he's going to want to take shots downfield, and obviously we don't really know who Dwayne Haskins is right now, but we do have a pretty good baseline based on what we saw in garbage time last year in the Michigan game last year as well,
Right.
and in the 2 spring games we're able to see.
Okay.
So,
yeah, absolutely. We understand that. We get that, and we're excited for it. Cory just wants to point out that, maybe I preferred Burrow a little bit, and
Burrows.
and he preferred Haskins, although neither of us hated the other guy. But Cory wants to know why I was so wrong. Cory just wants to make fun of me and point out to me that I am wrong and I was wrong. So why do you think maybe we ultimately went with this choice, or do you think a choice was made, or a choice just wasn't made and Joe walked away? Why do you think ultimately you go with Haskins over Burrow?
Well, to start off, I'd say that Joe Burrow is perfectly capable of running this offense. He may not have the velocity that Dwayne Haskins has, or the overall arm talent, but in terms of accuracy, his precision, his timing, his mechanics, he was very refined in all those areas of his game, and he was definitely more suited for the quarterback run game, and however, he was definitely more than capable of running the pass game that we were planning on running this year. In terms of Dwayne Haskins now taking over this year, I'd say that the main difference you'll see is we won't probably have as much of a quarterback run game, which was a staple, and especially in short yardage situations. It was a staple to have a read player on that backside of the play. Kind of helped us spread it out, but I think to really counteract that, you're going to see an expanded run-pass option game with Dwayne Haskins, and what they'll really allow us to do is instead of, like last year, we ran a variety of different run-pass options with bubble relief, with that arrow route, but with Dwayne Haskins, I really think we're going to see a lot of packaged plays where you'll see an inside zone run, but Dwayne Haskins is either pre-snap or post-snap reading maybe the weak side linebacker, and the H receivers running a slant right in that vacated area if they're running zone coverage. And obviously that seems like easy enough, but
right.
It takes timing. It takes good ball placement, and really with Ryan Day and Kevin Wilson running this offense, you'll see a lot of what we did last year, but with those added extra elements in the RPO passing game. And
so to you, what do you think the biggest benefit, though, briefly, if you could say the benefit with going with Haskins over
absolutely.
Burrow? What would you say is definitively why you would choose to do that?
Something that is very important to know with his offense is a lot of the damage is going to be done, within 25 yards, within not necessarily attacking teams downfield. That's how most offenses run. However, as most people can tell, Dwayne Haskins as a deep ball passer is, pretty advanced. His deep ball placement on, for example, that 25-yard touchdown pass to, who was it?
Saunders?
Number 15, Jalen Harris.
Oh, Jalen Harris. I'm thinking about
against Marcus Williams.
Yeah, spring game. Yeah.
Absolutely. That ball placement, he was through that right on the line, and he has a really good feel. I mean, you saw it in the Michigan game last year. Michigan was running a single high defense, and Austin Mack was going against press coverage. Created just a little bit of separation, but Haskins knew he had to put it right on him because that safety was coming over, and he could have maybe held the safety off a little bit more in that instance, but that's going to come on. That's going to some of those nuances that you want to see with.
Well, why hold the safety off when you can just fire it right between them? It seems to be
absolutely. He took a shot.
Yeah, and so basically, I think you agree with the consensus a lot of us had was you just can't keep that arm on the bench. You can't.
Absolutely.
A guy that can throw a deep ball without putting any air under the ball hardly is pretty rare. That's what jumps off the page to me off the screen to me when I see him throw. I'm like, wow, he threw it that far without much air under it, and the corner never had a chance to locate it that way. So that's pretty awesome. I don't know if you know this, Kiran, by listening to Cory, but Cory, what is the one thing you hate more than anything?
The quarterback run. Can we please, for the love of God, stop it? And honestly, you're talking about run-pass options with Haskins. Is the run really an option? I mean, can we just get excited and expect the guy to, drop back and fire it in there?
No, I can't definitively say that we're going to, abandon the quarterback running game, but with the expanded run-pass option game, you're going to see more passes beyond the line of scrimmage, whether it be, a post-snap read with the package play or a pre-snap read. You're going to see basically, like for example, an RPO slant where you'll see him read the will backer and kind of have to fire it in to that slot receiver, kind of running that vacated space. That's just one example. But a lot of these more advanced RPOs, they do require a high level of arm talent and timing and precision. And I think Haskins is more than capable. Like, we're not really building Haskins from the ground up. His potential is, outstanding. But in terms of where he needs to be, he has work to do. But in terms of his baseline accuracy, he's accurate within 25 yards. Some of his inaccuracy last year stemmed from lower body mechanics, not always being consistent. But his mechanics have continued to become more and more consistent. You saw that in the spring game. And he did have a couple misses, but a lot of that's going to stem from, getting more reps, getting more consistent game experience. And I'm very impressed with how, he's improved from a consistency standpoint. And I think we're going to continue to see him become more accurate, which is a scary thing because with his level of velocity, with his ability to stretch the field, having him, continue to work on timing, anticipation. If you have an arm like that and you can anticipate windows, especially within this offense where you're spreading teams out, where you have athletes who can make moves after the catch, and guys like Paris Campbell, where you've anticipated a window and you hit him in stride, he's gone.
Right.
That's what's scary to think about. But that's going to come with work. That's going to come in time, and it's not going to happen. It might not happen against TCU week 2, but the hope is by the Big Ten schedule, you see him, feel comfortable. And a lot of that's going to depend on a lot of other factors, including the positions around him. But with Ryan Day and Kevin Wilson, I can confidently say that they're going to do whatever they can to really make life easier for him. They're going to do what he feels is best. They're going to have an open line of communication. Him, Urban Meyer, Coach Day, and Coach Wilson are all going to do things that are going to play to his strengths, as well as keeping our basic philosophies.
Right. So if you had to for how the QB run game will be different, you said we're not going to completely abandon it, but
Absolutely.
Quickly, if you had to say a number of carries per game for Dwayne Haskins, what are you thinking? 6, 7, 8?
The complicated thing about that is how much of Tate Martell are we going to see? If we're in a short yardage situation, are we going to run Tate Martell?
Right. There you go, Cory. There you go, Cory. You can't get away from the QB run, Cory.
And
not with Urban Meyer, no.
I mean, it's exciting to think about because Lincoln Riley is one of the best young offensive coaches in all of football right now, and he had a backup quarterback in Kyler Murray, completely different stylistically from Baker Mayfield, but he used him in so many creative ways in almost a wildcat package because he's similar to Tate Martell where he can he's very good with speed option. They did a lot of different things with him to get the ball in his hands. So I think that we're going to see some of Tate Martell doing that. And Dwayne Haskins might not get the carries, whether he, as I mentioned, I think I mentioned before, he's a very athletic quarterback within the pocket. Kyle Morgan pointed that on Twitter. You saw that scramble against Michigan. He pulls away from Rashawn Gary, gets I think 25 yards out of it. He can move in the pocket very well. He may not be an explosive runner, but he'll be able to scramble. He can throw on the run incredibly well too. So you're going to see Ryan Day and Kevin Wilson move the pocket. We'll see bootlegs, design scrambles. He can move and keep his eyes downfield, throw on the run very well. His mechanics on the run are one of his strengths, I'd say.
I got one question, though, and this has to be answered honestly. What are we going to do on 3rd and 1 shotgun?
Well, if Dwayne Haskins is in the game, I think we're going to go tight zone with our tight end making that crack block. We're probably going to see what's complicated is...
So we're not going to just jam him into the line and hope he gets it? I mean, is that out now, or are we having a new era of 3rd and 1
I don't think that's
conversions?
his strength. I don't think we're going to do that.
Are we going to let running backs run then? We're going to let running backs run then?
I believe so, unless Tate Martell's in the game.
Right.
But we'll still it could still be a read option element.
I literally have heard this from so many Buckeye fans. They're just terrified of what we're going to do on 3rd and short now because JT's gone.
JT was amazing at converting on 3rd and 1.
Yeah, he was, but it's like there's how many other teams that have figured this out?
Yeah, at some point
they don't have JT Barrett.
Yeah, at some point, even though he's good at figuring it out, and you're motioning a tight end in for an offset blocker. Yep. When everybody in the stadium knows what's coming, I don't care how good you are at it, you become disadvantaged at some point. You know what I mean? So
absolutely,
yeah. I hope now, like you said, you could still see a read option, and that's when you'll probably see defenses sell completely out when he sticks the ball in J.K. Dobbins' gut, and then even though he's not tremendously quick, he can sneak around that unblocked edge for several yards. And I don't think we have a problem with that, but there are other ways, Coach Meyer, to pick up a first down on 3rd and 4th and short than Marcus Ball blocking for JT Barrett to get a half a yard when we've ran it 4 times.
I mean, you could see him go under center and run a sneak if it's like a 3rd and inches situation, you know?
Yeah,
that's not out of the realm of possibilities.
Yeah.
Well, no, he needs to do it from 7 yards back in the shotgun.
We need to be as disadvantaged as possible.
We need to make this as hard as possible.
I mean, it worked very well. So, I mean, it is predictable, but how many times did we run it against Wisconsin? How successful were we?
Yeah.
The famous 4th down against Michigan was designed keeper for JT. I think it was. If I could,
the danger in that is they hit him half a second sooner. He doesn't get the first down, and we're over here going, Curtis Samuel, and anyone, just the USC play where we ran it over and over, and he had to kind of scramble out the back just to barely get it, But I want to move into something. If you can answer this one really briefly, as not to confuse the ones of those of us who don't have as much knowledge as you. Haskins' change in the passing game, you touched on it already, but say with JT Barrett, we ran a lot of, these little comeback, these little hook routes, what kind of routes are we going to see under the Haskins era? How does the passing concept change a little bit there?
Well, last year we actually did run a lot of vertical switch concepts, which involves it's not necessarily a rub, but it kind of allows receivers, when we run those 2x2 formations, we can motion guys. We can motion the Z receiver inside, or it could be the H receiver, and they kind of run that. One of them will run like a wheel, and one of them might run like a post, just to basically define like a vertical switch. But we did run a lot of those with JT Barrett, as long as some of those shorter spacing concepts. But with Dwayne Haskins in the game, some of the go-to concepts I think we're going to see, 3rd and long, if we're facing a single high defense, fade smash. Every team, I think every spread team in college football runs that. And a fade smash, it can be a tough completion, but if you throw the ball well, it is tough for that slot corner to defend a receiver taking an outside release with a lot of space to work. I mean, we saw Sam Darnold complete at least a couple of those fade smash routes, and they are hard to cover for a slot corner, especially when the safety can't really help it a whole lot. If you're holding the safety at the middle of the field, he's not going to be able to help that slot corner, And,
right.
That's one concept I expect to see a lot of on 3rd and long against man coverage.
So you think the complete opposite of I think what we're most afraid of, and Cory's probably will echo this, are the Ed Warner, Tim Beck days of super, super simplified passing routes. So you're saying this is going to be much more evolved. We saw the offense evolve last year. It's going to evolve even more this year with a gun like Haskins back there.
Well, one thing is, in particular, is it's not that Ed Warner and Tim Beck just had concepts that were bad. It's that Kevin Wilson and Ryan Day know how to, in a way, they know how to adjust formationally, personnel-wise. They know how to use motion. They know how to kind of create a rhythm, within the game, from series to series, from play to play, in order to have the highest chance of success. And that's really what I think will separate them from those archaic, not archaic might not be the right word, but those frustrating offenses. We had all pros all over the field, but it didn't seem like we could move the ball against Michigan State. It seems like Ryan Day and Kevin Wilson will add little nuances. Kyle Jones really hit on it in his article about that Saints concept that we started to see in the spring game, which is another concept we're going to see, which is a vertical concept that involves a full field read, 9 route by the X receiver. The H receiver runs a little bubble route, and then the Y tight end will run a deep cross. The receiver runs a post. It's a great play to run against man and zone coverage, and they will do different things formationally to mix it up. They might have the tight end on the front side, and it'll be like a dual cross concept with that high-low read, and they'll do a variety of little things like that just to keep the defense, in a bind.
So many wrinkles they can add. Whereas
Absolutely.
the sets seem to be the same almost every time situationally. No, I get you, and I think Buckeye fans get you, even if you can't quite follow the concepts that you saw almost the same formation, situation in, situation out a couple years ago, and now, like you said, they're able to at least evolve. Well, let's ask this, Kiran, has Meyer ever had a quarterback like this before in any of his tenure?
You have to do a bit of research to see who he's worked with, but in terms of, if you look at the history of quarterbacks he's worked with, you look at Alex Smith, a lot of people compared Joe Burrow to Alex Smith, and Alex Smith, if we're being completely honest, he's a perfect spread quarterback for any college team. He would have fit this offense to a mark. But I remember I was talking to Cory earlier, and I was talking about how Cardale Jones was a bit of more of a project than we realized when we started to watch him in 2015. However, obviously it seemed like the coaching wasn't able to help him a lot. Dwayne, he's not Cardale Jones. He's more...
How dare you besmirch the great name of Tim Beck?
Yeah. No, go right ahead. You go right ahead.
Yeah, we're all good with that one.
Dwayne is unique because that he has some work to do, but what he can do now is pretty special in terms of arm talent. In terms of his mechanics are they're fine and they're getting better, and he's in terms of his mechanics they're just fine. And like I said, he had some inconsistencies, but he's working on that.
Yeah.
Excuse me.
If I don't know that I've seen, Cardale had a big arm, but Dwayne's arm is big in a different way. The only arm that I've ever seen that can put a college game ball quite as good as I've seen Dwayne do, and that's Ryan Mallett. That's the closest thing I can come to a comparison. And I don't know if you were too young to remember all the amazing passes that Ryan Mallett used to put up, and especially against us in the Sugar Bowl. And I think, what was that, 2009? Right,
2010. January of 2010, right? Yeah.
Yeah, right before our little tattoo scandal, but we won't get into that. But I just think that it's a huge arm, and it's gotta make Meyer think like, wow, do I do what I've always done with a guy that's way different? Obviously, no, and like you said, he's got two really good offensive minds in Wilson and Day helping him out. Cory, why don't you hit on this question a little bit with Kiran about how the cornerbacks in practice have just lauded what Dwayne Haskins is able to do?
One thing I do know about offense, I am nowhere near Kiran's knowledge, but one thing I do know is that obviously seconds matter. That's common sense. And Jeffrey Okudah has been asked about Dwayne Haskins, I think on a couple of occasions. And basically what he said in practice is if you're not completely on point with the wide receiver, that Haskins can put it in a spot very quickly that will basically embarrass you, kind of take away your ability to, to make a play on the ball. And obviously that would be the NFL talent and the arm that he has, obviously. But let me ask you, how does that one concept, the fact that, I love JT, I get it, but and he had some good throws, but obviously he couldn't consistently put the ball in a place like NFL worthy. But Haskins has that talent. How does that? Let me put it this way: how does it alter? We talk about how it's going to change the offense, but how does that little thing help move drives? How does that little thing make our offense even more prolific? Last year it was pretty prolific overall, but how does that make it even more prolific going forward?
Well, it really makes defenses scared to put their guys in man-to-man coverage. They're going to want to have split safety looks. They're not going to want to run single high coverages because they know Dwayne can really fire it down the sideline and really kind of dictate where he wants to put the ball. I mean, what Jeffrey Akuta is talking about is when you're in press coverage and you're kind of playing that reading the eyes technique, if the receiver is kind of hiding his eyes and that ball is being thrown on a line, he flashes his eyes and the ball's there. And it's really hard for the corner to kind of snap his head, locate the ball, and try to make a play on the ball, even if it's in really tight coverage. So, I mean, you'll probably also see a lot of back shoulder passes, and I mean, with an arm like that, back shoulder passes deep down the field are also very hard to cover, especially with your back turn, and that has a lot to do with chemistry and timing and the position of the defender. And I think Dwayne's, he's working on reading the position of corners in regards to where the receiver is, and that's also something that the receivers are working on too. And that chemistry is going to be built in the fall camp, and I mean that's a scary sight to see. I mean, the most important trait a quarterback has is mental processing, but arm talent is not too far away from that. I mean, you saw Baker Mayfield was the number one pick largely because he was incredibly smart, nuanced, fiery competitor, just a great all-around quarterback. But I mean, he's got a really good arm too. If Dwayne gets on that mental game, in which it seems like he seems like from what we've heard, he may not have been quite where Burrow was, but he was a year behind, and now he's starting to really catch on, and I mean that's exciting.
Yeah.
Well, let me add this real quick. I think that what you touched on is actually very accurate. I think most of what you say is accurate. Anyway, I don't really ever disagree with you. But that being said, when you talked about how he's going to build chemistry, I think listen, we all love Joe Burrow. We all know he's talented. We've done it on the show where we prefaced everything we say about him that we're rooting for him, even in LSU. But I think the only silver lining benefit about Burrow transferring is the fact that now throughout the summer, because they're going to be working together, even though if it's not scheduled by the coaches, Haskins going to be out there working with the receivers, and then the fall camp he gets a good solid 3 months to really just keep building that chemistry to where maybe we can hit the ground running rather than take about 4 games to really start to see its potential.
And we have a great opportunity. I mean, no disrespect to Oregon State, but if you're at the bottom of the Pac-12, that's not very good.
Oh, go ahead and disrespect them. We're gonna disrespect them pretty hardcore September 1st.
You don't play defense anyway. So if you're in the bottom of the people who don't,
Washington plays defense. I'm sorry, Washington plays.
You're right. And
well-coached team.
And Stanford
has some
Stanford tries.
Absolutely. And, I mean, the fact that we get to play Oregon State, I'm not going to say it's going to be like Bowling Green in 2016, but
man.
I don't have the scouting report yet, but...
That was not a game. I don't know. That was a scrimmage. That was pretty bad.
that was two-hand touch scrimmage.
Yeah, it's all fun and games, but, God, having to face... That's going to be the real test. Week 2, having to go to Arlington, Texas. I
actually think TCU is week 3, actually.
Week 3? Okay, because I think we have a bye week, something like that. But
no, I think we play Rutgers for a second game.
Okay, that makes sense.
Obviously, they're going to be really tough.
What Corey says though makes sense. We saw the frustration of rolling early season into Oklahoma, and we were like, we had the same offensive hiccups that we had last year. I thought we had all this fixed, and from what you were saying about quarterback and receiver chemistry and this big arm, that we hope through the summer we roll into it. Week 1, boom, new offense, and it's already clicking instead of, like you said, wait until week 3, 4 before we're starting to see these bubble screen wrinkles and these other things. And I really like what you said about you give the corners no time to react. He reads the eyes. If you're pressing and the receiver looks up, the ball's there, you'll be, even if you were in perfect position. So those are a lot of the good things, but, even Superman has his kryptonite. What are some of the potential problems you see with Haskins at the quarterback helm?
Well, with the limited sample size we have, a lot of it was garbage play, against UNLV and Illinois. And I guess particularly against UNLV, I think I already touched on, the inconsistency. I saw a little bit in his follow-through and his lower body mechanics. Not saying that his mechanics are very good, but I think one of those inconsistencies led to a couple inaccurate passes, in the intermediate sections of the field. And I think one thing he's got to work on is timing and anticipating routes that are developing, in the intermediate sections of the field, because those are some tight windows that he's going to have to work with at times. And if you are a little bit inaccurate, it could lead to your receiver getting killed. It could lead to an interception. And I think that's something he knows he's got to work on. I mean, Coach Day and Coach Wilson are definitely pulling up film from last year and probably pulling up some of those plays where he either waited too long. I mean, there was one play where he was rolling right, I think Johnny Dixon was broken open, and he could have thrown it to him right there, but he waited, and he almost took a sack, but he fired it into a tight window down the sideline, and Johnny Dixon ended up gaining huge gain. And I remember talking to Cory earlier, he said, those plays are going to be those high ends, so there might be a little bit of high variance, but hopefully with more consistency, we see those big-time plays, but there won't be as much variance, is what I'm saying. Hopefully, there will be a couple bad decisions. There will be maybe a couple inaccurate passes that he wants back. But what we should really hope for is that, like I was saying earlier, is as we roll into the season, he becomes more and more consistent, more comfortable. He really needs to continue to work on having a good feel pre-snap, which I think he really does. Having the right protections, knowing the looks, knowing where to put the ball, knowing why they're doing a certain thing, not overthinking really, because what we might see with him is he has a guy open and maybe he rolls or sits too long waiting for something else to develop. He needs to take some of those easy passes and continue as he's learning, and then when he gets more comfortable, he can know based on a certain look that, hey, I know this guy is going to be open. I know that I can do this against this coverage, and I know I have to take this easy pass. I don't have to take this easy play, and that's really what you want to see from him. And in all honesty, I'm confident that there will be a little bit of high variance. There might be a game where he throws a few picks, and it costs us some field position. But I also know that he's going to be someone that's going to learn from his mistakes. He's going to be someone that will not really have too many, like a string of games where he just loses his confidence. He seems like someone who's going to have teammates around him, like having 6 receivers returning,
right,
and guys like Terry McLaurin, having guys that he's really been with for the last 2 years. His confidence won't ever go down. If he makes a mistake, his teammates are going to be there. He'll know how to fix it. He's not going to be someone who's going to show bad body language and hang on a mistake too much. Being the big-armed, young gunslinger he is, he knows he might end up making some mistakes. And all we can hope for is that he's really going to work within the structure, and he'll make some plays as well too. So it'll be very fun to watch.
Okay, well, yeah, it sounds like it's just an experience issue that we'll get through, and I'm with you. One thing that Cory, going back to one of Cory's pet peeves, Myers' QB run. It was his get out of jail free card, right? So, when the offense wasn't clicking, he would just start going to that, and you make sense. You get an extra blocker with that QB run. And JT was a skilled runner, and it seemed like they weren't accounting for him. And then he'd break the game open, and we'd get our flow back because they'd have to start playing us more honest. But now that we know Haskins is a guy that will get a few yards with his feet, what's going to be, but not a lot of yards, what's going to be the get out of jail free card in your mind when the offense isn't clicking?
Well, as I mentioned earlier before, the run-pass option game will be expanded. We're going to see a lot more creative play-action passes, but in terms of the running game alone, we will see more gap scheme principles. I have to be completely honest. That's something I'm still kind of learning about and still researching. Is the Ohio State run game, but
well, I think it's probably about to change up on you again, to be honest. So it might be a difficult task. If
you look at the Michigan game last year, we ran a little bit of different things with we ran some pin and pull. We ran a bunch of different sweep type of plays. So really what we were doing is, instead of running a zone play where we had an unblocked read defender, we'd have 6 blockers on 6 guys in the box, and we'd just hand the ball off to the running back with no read attached. But we can also have passing plays attached to zone plays as well. And kind of combining that will kind of change the run game. It won't be completely different, though. But we will probably see more carries from Mike Weber, J.K. Dobbins, maybe some of the younger guys like Master T and Brian Snead. But we will definitely see more carries. And then with Tate Martell in the game, we'll see our base read option game with the tight zone read and a lot of the previous plays that we've seen last year.
You know what? I think we have our answer, Corey. When we have the get out of jail free, when the offense just isn't clicking, like Haskins is just not, he's thinking too much and not reacting like Kiran's talking about, and the defense just did a good job, good athletic plays, good scouting, and they're kind of snubbing us out. That's what we do, Corey. We put Tate in the game, and we go back to the get out of jail free card. You see, Corey.
So basically, we just,
your life didn't get any better. You lost some weight. Good job. You lost some weight.
Now I'm going to lose hair.
Whenever Tate Martell goes in the game, Corey, you get yourself a tub of ice cream and just and start having yourself a good cry because
but that's the problem. It's going to be even more obvious than it was with JT.
Yes. And yeah, that's why I would like to see a surprise pass every now and then.
This is probably what the deal was for Burrow transferring. I guarantee you Wilson and Day said, look, if we go with Haskins, I promise we'll run the ball with Martell a little bit.
I mean, they'll do some creative things, so I'm not. I think it's
I got to be honest with you, creative in this staff doesn't really, it doesn't really mesh, in my opinion, at the moment. When I see 15 third and 1 shotgun runs in a row, I just... Yeah, I get that it worked, but it's like, okay, we got to do a jump pass, do something else.
Yeah, it seems like their hand will be forced without a quarterback that, and like Kiran's saying, this guy's got such an arm, you can't help but utilize it. And that's what Corey and I are both hoping for. And that you don't get in a position that
I hope they put Martell on the field with Haskins at times. That would excite me. But
I think they are. I think we're going to see some creative stuff.
Bubble screen. You get a double bubble action where you can. It looks like you can throw a bubble to Paris or take. Did you just
say double bubble action?
I did.
Can we leave the terminology to Karen, please?
You mean like a double pass?
No. Where you're setting up
backwards.
No, where you set up where it looks like you have a potential screen on either side of the formation.
Oh, we don't run screens.
So like bubble relief,
right?
Off of like a zone,
where you either you choose an H-back and somebody like Paris Campbell on one side, or Tate Martell on the other. You put that defense in the quandary. That would be some fun stuff. That's the kind of stuff I thought we could do when we had Braxton Miller moving back to H-back to receiver.
That was about the most non-creative offense I've ever seen for having like 36 playmakers.
You're right. You're absolutely right. And
it's like Wildcat, Braxton Miller. This is all we got. I don't know what else to do.
It was fun against Virginia Tech.
Yeah,
it was a great run, but it's like
that
you can't do it every week.
Yeah, I think that spoiled us. Like it doesn't matter. Everybody knows what.
I actually said to my dad a few times, we can't even run a bubble screen with Braxton. I don't understand. We can't do anything with Braxton. I understand he can't throw the ball. I get you can't do a halfback option pitch or whatever, but at the same time, there's so many things you could do with this guy. Imagine if Lincoln Riley last year had Braxton Miller.
I know.
It's just like, come on. There's a million things you could have done with him.
That 2015 offensive line was elite, too. I mean, you're talking about Taylor Decker, Price, Eiflin.
All starters.
Who's the right tackle? Who's the right tackle again?
Chase Ferris was terrible. I'm sorry.
Chase Ferris. I mean, he was okay. And
he was better than JB false starts. You guys remember?
That's going way too far back for Kieran, man.
Was it JB Shugerts? I called him JB
Shugerts. Yeah, he was a 5-star kid out of Oklahoma that ended up being terrible.
I called him JB false starts.
No, but I mean, I'll say that he was better than Isaiah Prince 2016. But
the turnstile. Isaiah the turnstile. If we ever have him on the podcast, I'll be sure to call him. I'll be sure to give him a nickname.
Yeah, tell him to his face he's 6'7", 320. So good luck.
No. From behind the microphone. The microphone.
I'm telling him where you live.
Okay. Well, we're pretty. I mean, that sounds like we got some changes coming. And like Kiran's saying, we saw the changes come last year with Wilson and Day, and it looks like they can go even further with Haskins at the helm. And hopefully we'll see a little bit more of a pure run style offense, pure running and pure passing instead of this gimmicky stuff. What I got frustrated with is, you see offenses in college football, and they have their time, right? They have their day, and then the defenses catch up, and then you have to go back to something different. Well, Urban Meyer, I think, was a visionary in his own right to come with this mobile quarterback thing. He did it at Florida. He brought it up to Ohio State. It was fantastic. Well, when teams figure out that that's what you do and to take that away from you, you get this gimmicky offense, and you put a goose egg against Clemson in the playoff, and then you do what I think is funny and ironic. Clemson played Alabama last year in the playoff, and what was their offense reduced to? Quarterback runs and gimmicks, and they got crushed. They scored 6 points. So
that offensive line could not pass protect.
No.
I watched the All-22. They were getting destroyed up front by Alabama was not screwing around either. They were sending sometimes 7 guys, and Kelly Bryant was trying to get rid of the ball, but he was getting smacked. And Kelly Bryant did not play very well in that game, but Clemson's offense was not ready for a caliber of
they
that
weren't.
defense.
They weren't, and that's what you get with bad offensive lines who aren't built to pass protect and are built largely around the quarterback run.
And when you don't have Deshaun Watson,
right, he can't bail you out of situations. So, this is going to be. I'm hopeful for this gimmicky phase that we grow out of this, and this is the good time to do it. You have two minds like Wilson and Day. How long can you reasonably think that you can keep those guys on the staff? So we're looking forward to those changes. Cory, I was poking fun a little bit earlier, but I wanted to say great job, bud, with the weight loss down to 232, right?
Yep, good call.
232. That's fantastic, my man. And we'll check back in with another weight update next week. We guys appreciate you listening as always. We appreciate Kiran coming on. Check out some of his articles.
Problem.
Yeah, man, appreciate that. Buckeyesnews.net. Check him out. And as always, give us a like, a listen on Twitter, retweet, and let us know what we can do better. We appreciate you guys listening. Good night. God bless, and go Bucks.
From